Hey everybody, welcome back to Mind Keys. So good to see you all. So in today's video, I wanted to discuss a really important topic that kind of falls under the broad category of expectations versus reality when we're talking about working with psychedelics for personal healing or personal awakening or spiritual awakening or what have you. What I'm about to share here is a very, very common kind of assumption or misconception that a lot of people make in this field, in this area. I've seen it happen with clients of mine. I see it happen on posts online all the time on Reddit or wherever else. And I just want to speak to it a bit and kind of give my own 2 cents as someone who has kind of chased the dragon of psychedelic insight and wisdom for decades of my life. I'd love to share with you what I've learned about that. So let's go ahead and talk about it here in this video. And just really quick, before we go ahead and dive into today's topic, I just wanted to say, first of all, a quick introduction to anyone who may be new to me or new to the channel here. Hello, my name is Dave. I'm a coach. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm an NLP practitioner. I'm a psychonaut as well. I've been using psychedelics for 30 years of my life at this point. And I've studied and trained extensively on how to self-heal, how to use psychedelics as a form of personal development work for self-help, for transformation, for spiritual awakening, for personal growth purposes. And so if those are your interests, if you want to hear more about that, then you're certainly in the right place here on this channel. And so I'm super stoked to have you aboard for the conversation and grateful for your time and your attention. And that's that. Let's go ahead and get into the video here. So, as I said in the introduction, there is a very common, pervasive assumption in the psychedelic community, and quite frankly, well beyond the psychedelic community, in life in general, certainly in the fields of personal development and self-help and science and psychology, spirituality in general. There is a very pervasive myth that a lot of people don't understand is a myth. It's a core assumption. It's an operating assumption that most people believe to be true and uses the basis of how they approach any of these endeavors that they don't realize is leading them astray and going to cause them problems. And this is especially exaggerated, especially pronounced in the psychedelic community. So what is that assumption? What is that myth? Well, the myth is the myth that by taking in more information, that you will somehow get transformation out of that. And so what I want to talk to you about today is the distinction between information and transformation. So in my studies of hypnosis, I came across a hypnotherapist who is very well known in the field named Milton Erickson, who is well known to be one of, if not the best hypnotherapist of all time. The guy was an absolute genius of hypnosis. He was brilliant and so keenly observant and so skilled at what he did that a lot of people almost considered his ability freakish and strangely almost like having a weird psychic superpower of being able to heal people, which was really just nothing more than his finely honed capacity for observing other people. And he has a very famous quote about this dynamic and this relationship between insight and change, or wisdom and transformation. And it goes something like this. And for me, this sums it up perfectly. He says, "Change will lead to insight more often than insight will lead to change." Now, for me, that was a very slow lesson to get and a very hard one lesson. So let me just explain a little bit about my background with psychedelics and kind of how I experienced this. And let me know if this resonates for you. If this is something you see in yourself or something you see in friends of yours who use psychedelics or something you've read online. I would have these amazing, powerful, revelatory experiences on psychedelics, especially kind of early on in the first 5 years or so that I was doing them. I would have these experiences of deeply connecting to myself, understanding and learning things about myself or my mind or my emotions or my psychology or my family. I learned things about the nature of reality and perception and the mind, or what we are as organisms, or, wisdom and insights about the spiritual nature of human beings and what spirit is and what God is, and, the nature of the universe and the nature of time and the nature of all these different things. You get all these amazing, profound insights, but you don't quite get all of it. You get like these big aha moments. You get these big, like, whoa, like blow you wide open epiphanies. And then you kind of come back down and you kind of don't know exactly how to plug it in. And you feel like you're super, super close to cracking the code or unlocking the answer or figuring it all out or getting all the information you need to maybe put yourself together in a deeper, more accurate, higher order, or to understand life and human nature and the nature of suffering or the nature of awakening and spirituality and spirit itself, or the nature of nature, or how this all works and how this all fits together and how we can use all of this profound, higher dimensional, I just said profound, deep information to truly awaken, to truly actualize real lasting change and awaken that divine superhuman aspect of what we are and live into that and plug that in and turn our own lives around and become healed and healthy and happy and actualized, and help other people turn their lives around and become healed and healthy and actualized, and affect like a true rippling out of change and peace and awakening on earth. Does all this sound familiar to you? Right? I used to believe that I was so close to getting it. I was so close to understanding, to figuring it out, to like fully integrating that, to fully grokking it. And yet it would always be one trip away. It would always be, oh, I've got to take one more big trip to fully get it. Oh, I know if I just like spend a few more trips going after it, it'll all come clear and it'll all make sense and it'll all click and I will unlock myself and I will transform and I will grow and I will heal and I will be better, and then I can do better things in my life, right? This kind of assumption is beautifully intentioned and it feels so very real the more you do psychedelics. In my experience, I spent 20 years. Well, I mean, I've taken psychedelics for 30 years. So I spent, 20 years of those 30 years believing that and chasing the dragon of wisdom and psychedelic insight and gaining all kinds of amazing pieces, but never fully unlocking that. And there's a reason for that. Because fundamentally, change and insight or information are not the same thing. And in our culture, we assume they are. We assume that education equals action. We assume that information equals something must be different now, right? We assume that when we know that we can do differently. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, if you think about it, we live in the most information-rich time ever in all of human history that we know of. We have more information now in our pocket on a phone than any king throughout history, any ruler throughout history, any scholar throughout history really had access to. We have all the information of most of the libraries of the world available in our pockets. We have more information about what other people think and feel. We have more information about our fellow human beings and what they're doing in different parts of the globe than we've ever known, more immediately than we've ever known it. You get my point. We have more information now than ever, but has it made us happier? Has it made us more at peace? Has it made us more integrated as human beings? Has it brought us into greater harmony with each other? Has it empowered us to take better actions and level up and be better than our predecessors? I would argue probably not. So obviously, information and transformation aren't the same thing, right? They're different. And, this has become abundantly clear to me the more I study hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So I'll kind of just riff on this for a moment, and then maybe I'll end the video here because I don't want to yammer too long on all of this, but I hope you're getting my point here. You can drink from the fire hose of insight and information, which is kind of how I think about psychedelics. It's like you open up the floodgates of cosmic information and it just comes flooding into your nervous system, and it's beautiful and it's profound and it's wild and it's crazy and it's weird and it's strange. It's hard to separate out what's subjective and what's real, what's truth and what's fiction, what's internal, what's external, and it all gets magical, right? It's beautiful. But in that whole process, you can have all those experiences and then you just come back to your same pattern when you come down. You're left with the same core assumptions about yourself and the world and your life and who you are and what's going on around you. You're left with the same behavioral conditioning that's been patterned into you, mostly by yourself, but also by your culture and your family and your friends and your lifestyle habits. You'll come back down to the same vantage points and emotion and habitual emotion loops, right? All of that won't necessarily change just because you see something new about yourself or life or the world or your history or whatever. This is one of the reasons, one of the huge arguments for integration work, first of all. Second of all, I would submit to you that what I've learned from hypnosis is that we can consciously know the root of our problems, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the emotion, the habituated fear or anxiety or depression doesn't keep coming up. It'll still continue to arise and continue to be an issue for us, even though we know why, what caused it, where it first happened, who was involved, what the mistakes were. We can know all about it and still be dealing with the experience of it, right? And we can be dealing with the experience of it and not know how to stop it and shift it and move into something else. Oddly enough, here's one of the crazy things about hypnosis, right? So I practice with other hypnotherapists all the time. I'm talking and drilling and honing my skill all the time. And we all know how change works at an unconscious level as hypnotherapists, more or less. And even consciously knowing it, in other words, knowing how it works, you would think that would stop it from working on us, right? That when we know what we're doing, or if we're receiving it, what the person who's leading us through hypnosis is doing, that it wouldn't be effective anymore. It's totally not the case. I can know exactly what a peer of mine is doing with me in a hypnosis session, and it won't change whether or not it's effective. So conscious awareness and unconscious change are not at all the same thing. And I really want you to get this because this will put you so far ahead and really save you so many headaches when it comes to working your psychedelic path. So when you get the insights, and you come back down and you're like, oh my gosh, that's what happened in my life. And that's how come I'm dealing with this issue or this pattern, or that's how I can change things for the better. Just because now doesn't mean you're going to change. I'm sorry to say, I wish it were that simple. But if it were, if you think about it, then the 60s hippies or all the people doing LSD in the 90s or all the ravers in the 2000s would have permanently changed for the better and leveled up their lives, wouldn't have any mental health issues, wouldn't have any of the struggles that they've continued to have. So obviously, insight alone doesn't create change, unfortunately. So I'm saying that, as much as that's kind of a little bit of a bummer of a message, to, again, empower you to know the difference, because what I can teach you is the skill of changing yourself. And when you put that in combination with the insight that you've gotten, when you have clear targets of what needs changing and what happened and what your habituated thought loops and emotion patterns are, and when you've got a really clear track on that, and then how to change too, how to transform yourself, what change is and how to create it, then all of a sudden change becomes super possible. Because here's the thing, psychedelics will show you stuff. This is why they're so useful. They'll show you stuff about change that someone in traditional therapy may struggle for a very long time to get to the same insight, right? Because they have to sift through their own conscious mind and the process of inquiring and dealing with their own defense structures and their own identity and ego getting in the way and blocking them from allowing them to see things that may not be flattering or comfortable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Therapy is typically a very slow process because we have so many of these layers that we need to kind of soften, relax, and unpack in order to get to those kernels of insight. But you can get there a lot faster with psychedelics, but the kernels of insight don't necessarily mean, again, that we're going to change. So anyways, I just want to put this message out there. to give you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of hope, a little bit of clarity, so that you're not making the same mistake. Because this is something I see over and over and over again online with my clients. They assume that knowing is going to create healing, and it doesn't quite work that way. You can heal without knowing, actually. I can do hypnosis. I don't even need to know what exactly the issue is for the person, and I don't even need to know, exactly what's going on. I can still lead them through healing just by using hypnosis properly and the way that it's designed to be used. So anyways, I just want to offer that as food for thought, as like a nice point of information for you, point of learning for you, ironically, in this kind of landscape of information, because there are a lot of people who kind of assume that psychedelic insight will take you there. And my experience is just simply not the whole story. So anyways, much love to you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, if you like either my presentation or this set off an aha for you, or if this was valuable for you, do me a favor and please consider giving a thumbs up so that the algorithm knows to spread the video to other people who can get this same message. Or, leave a comment down below about what you might have learned or realized in this video. Or, just consider subscribing to the channel if you want more of this kind of information. Anyways, big love, big respect to you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you guys soon.